5 advanced expressions to give opinion in English. Watch this video and stay with me until the end. There's a listening practice. I will share the expressions and also valuable tips to help you understand how to sound more advanced when speaking in English. If you don't know me very well, hi, I'm Priscilla, Teacher Prix, and I'm going to help you talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime in English. I appreciate you being here. Make sure to subscribe. There's always something new. Now, guys, expressions to share, to give your opinion. One thing that I need to make very clear here is just knowing the expressions will not make you more advanced. Just writing down, okay, these are the 5 expressions, wonderful, yay. No, they're not going to make you advanced. And what I see happen very frequently is students learn the expressions, they learn phrasal verbs, they learn idioms and advanced words, but they don't know how to use those words in real life. So the idea I'm trying to convey here is you will need way more than simply the expressions to sound more advanced at an intermediate level if you're studying and working to improve your speaking and listening comprehension. There are more things you need to do. Of course, this lesson is valuable and will help you tremendously, but there are more strategies you need to implement if you want to sound more advanced, more polished when speaking in English. And one thing that I want to say right off the bat is for each expression that I'm going to share, there will be a short listening practice. So I recommend right now that you turn off the automatic captions. You can do that because if you do the listening but you look at the subtitles, even though there may be mistakes, it doesn't count. So turn off the subtitles so that you can do the listening practice. Good? Now, guys, before I share the 5 expressions, I want to share, as I mentioned before, 3 things you need to consider if you want to sound advanced. Because just knowing the expressions is not enough. So there are 3 things you need to consider. And the number 1 is your choice of words. And not just the expressions. Oh, okay, but I'm learning expressions. No, let's go back to the basics. Now that you're trying to elevate your communication skills, what do you need to keep in mind? What do you need to think about? Well, your choice of words. So words that you constantly use, nothing wrong with those words. They are absolutely correct. But now that you're trying to elevate your speaking skills, make a short list of words that you tend to repeat too much. The nouns you use too much, the adjectives you use too much, the modifiers you use too much, the adverbs you use too much. And find possible synonyms to replace the frequent use of those words. This is something you need to be working around the clock now. Thinking of advancing your English. Your choice of words will matter. Number 2, clear grammar. What's the point of me coming here and share those 5 awesome, really polished expressions if you're constantly making really basic grammar mistakes or you have trouble putting your ideas together? That's grammar. So now more than ever, you will need to include grammar practice in your study plan. This is something that I do with my students in my academy. That's what I teach in my study plan. You have to include a grammar day and connect your grammar day with English speaking and writing. That's not the focus of this video. I can come back here and talk about it in another lesson. And finally, choose advanced subjects to read, listen, and speak about. Oftentimes, students catch themselves in that awkward situation. Well, but I don't know what to talk about. I don't know advanced stuff. It's very difficult for me. It starts with a foundation. It starts from preparation, from your practice time. So what are you studying? You need to have more exposure to advanced content. And how do you do that? Through what you read, what you listen, and through what you talk about. So of course you can still practice answering basic questions, but if you want to advance, if you want to elevate the quality of your communication skills, then it all boils down to the materials you choose. This is something that I do all the time with my babies, okay? there's a mistake there. I should be capitalized. So I'm always working on bringing them advanced vocabulary, listening exercises, videos, documentaries, and discussions to make them exercise their critical thinking in the English language, which is required for an advanced speaker. That's why the variety is vital at this level. Now, that being said, expression number 1 is one could argue that. Priscilla, can I simply say I think? Sure, you can say I think. Native speakers use I think. Native speakers use in my opinion. Native speakers use I believe. No problems. But how about using in your speaking practice, include different expressions when you're sharing opinion. If I were studying alone right now, what would I do? I would Google a question in English that would require answering with an opinion, and then I would practice using this expression in the others. That's what I would do if I were alone. That's actually what I do as someone who still studies English alone. So when you use this sentence, you are beginning, there's a letter U, there's a word U missing. You are beginning to share your opinion on a particular matter and explain that reason. And I created one example, and you will listen to one example. But look at my example. One could argue that globalization has made our lives more difficult due to environmental degradation, job losses, and so many other issues it has brought upon the world. So one could argue that globalization has made our lives more difficult due to environmental degradation, job losses, and so many other issues it has brought upon the world. That's a much more advanced subject. Oh, Priscilla, but nobody talks about that. You never know. You never know. And if you want to advance, just watching people talk about their last weekend will not cut it, will not be enough. Now, I'm not saying tomorrow you're going to find someone and talk about globalization. That's not how it works. But by exposing yourself to this subject, you will expand your knowledge and your critical thinking. That's my intention. So I use the expression. Well, one could argue that, well, I think globalization is really important to society. You know, it has brought many opportunities. It's wonderful. I see. Well, one could argue that globalization has made our lives more difficult. If you think about environmental degradation, job losses, and so many other difficulties we face nowadays due to globalization. So I'm not sure. What do you say? So that's a much more complicated conversation, a much more complex conversation. Now, can you use basic expressions and verbs? Absolutely, but I want you to advance. Now, what are we going to do? I will play one audio file 3 times with this expression. Please don't use subtitles, okay? And your job is to listen and write it down. So I'll play 5 times because the sentence is long. This is what I call it's a quick listening exercise that I like to do with my BSA in my academy. Very important exercise to work on dictation, to work on quick comprehension, and to also help you with intonation depending on how you approach it. But here for now is just a dictation exercise. So let's see, let me find the video. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Oh.
One could argue that knowing is better than not knowing, even if knowing is tremendously disappointing. At least she can live her life.
One more time.
One could argue that knowing is better than not knowing, even if knowing is tremendously disappointing. At least she can live her life.
One more time.
One could argue that knowing is better than not knowing, even if knowing is tremendously disappointing. At least she can live her life.
One more time.
One could argue that knowing is better than not knowing, even if knowing is tremendously disappointing. At least she can live her life.
Very well. Now, Priscilla, this was so difficult. Oh my goodness. To some people, it'll be difficult. To others, it'll be easier. This is something you do consistently if you want to improve. My goal was to show you the expression being used by a native speaker. You also listen to the native speaker, So this is a good exercise for comprehension. It's very specific, okay? I strongly recommend that you do it. I do this with my students all the time inside the academy. But anyway, so this is the answer. One could argue that knowing is better than not knowing. Even if knowing is tremendously disappointing, at least she can live her life. So here she's sharing her view. Maybe they're talking about something that she needs to know or doesn't need to know. So one could argue that knowing is better than not knowing. So she feels that when you need to know something, it's better to know than to leave not knowing the answer or the information. So that's the idea. What is your job now? Create one example. Analyze these two examples I gave you and create one example. Now let's go to the next expression. My stance on. My stance on, there you go. Let's see. Okay, let me go back. Okay, my stance, all right. There you go. It is a way of thinking about something, specially expressed in a publicly stated opinion. So my stance, my view, my opinion. Look at this. My stance on social media is clear. It is a powerful tool that ought to be used carefully. That's my stance on social media. I won't change it. I think it is a powerful tool that must be used carefully because it is a dangerous tool if you don't know how to use it wisely, if you don't know how to use it carefully. So my stance on social media is this. Okay? Got it? Now, time to listen. Let's go to another audio file. This is easier, I think. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
I'm very serious about my stance on capital. 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 I'm very serious about my stance on capital.
Very nice. Let's see the answer. Ideally, guys, watch my lessons with a pen, a pencil, and a piece of paper. Take notes, okay? This is something that you should be old-fashioned about, all right? Now, Ben, I'm very serious about my stance on capital punishment. So, what are you very serious about? What's your stance on capital punishment? What's your stance on social media? Share your stance on this subject. Mwah! Good. Okay? Hey, support the channel. If you're already subscribed, share. If you're not subscribed yet, give me a chance. Take a chance on me. Let's go. Next. From my perspective, this is a good one. Okay? It's very popular. Very good. And of course that whenever you use these expressions, you have to continue and share your view, okay? So from my perspective, this means your point of view on a particular subject, the way you see something, your point of view on a particular topic. So here's my example. From my perspective, YouTube is a platform that helps people to learn meaningful content, while Instagram and other platforms are more entertainment oriented. That's my perspective. So from my perspective, YouTube is a platform that provides people with meaningful content, while Instagram and other platforms are more entertainment oriented. Now, is YouTube becoming more entertainment oriented? That's a fact. But then it'll come down to how you decide to use YouTube. Because if you compare Instagram to YouTube, you have the entertainment on YouTube, but you also have the educational aspect. And Instagram, that is more difficult. So that's the idea. Are you ready for another listening trick? Exercise, not trick. But it could be tricky, huh? Yeah. Now let's go.
But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. But from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together.
Very well, very well. And the phrase is, but from my perspective, the whole point of the theater is to bring community together. Nice. As I said, turn off subtitles. Challenge yourself. The goal of this exercise is to share vocabulary with listening and even speaking. This is what I teach my babies in my academy. This is what I teach in my study plan. If you need organization, if you don't know how to include listening exercises and reading and writing and speaking, I know my study plan will help you with that. By purchasing the plan, you support the channel. But if you're not interested, not to worry. Just subscribe to the channel and share this lesson with a friend. Let's move on. I firmly believe. If you're using I firmly believe, you believe strongly about some, in something. Okay? You believe in something quite strongly. So when you want to share your view on something, you believe. Oh, Priscilla, but believe is so basic. No, believe is a good verb. Again, as I said, it's how you use. It's the repetition of the words. That's there's this nuance, this difference between an advanced speaker and a lower intermediate and intermediate speaker. The frequency you use certain words, how you put them together. So I firmly believe, this is my example, I firmly believe my channel is an excellent source of free content available on the internet. I firmly believe that. So you see, guys, in every example here, I created the example, as you can see here on the screen. I did it. I connected the example somehow to my life or to something I believe in. Do you want to memorize new words? Do you want to improve your English? Do this. Okay? Now let's go to the exercise. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
I firmly believe that I'm ready for this next step in my academic life. I firmly believe that I'm ready for this next step in my academic life. I firmly believe that I'm ready for this next step in my academic life. I firmly believe that I'm ready for this next step in my academic life.
And with these short listening practices, guys, what I like about them is that I can also pay close attention to intonation. I firmly believe. Firmly is important. You need to stress, I firmly believe. So you need to stress, and this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. It's a different listening exercise. I talk about this on my program in my academy. I talk about this in my study plan. I also talk about this in my listening mastery workshop because it's a different strategy. Okay. Now the answer here, I firmly believe that I'm ready for this next chapter of my academic life. That's the answer. Now last one. From where I stand. Oh, I really like this one. You're showing your view. You have a specific opinion. You have a particular set of beliefs, experience, and responsibilities. So from where I am, from where I stand, okay? This is so good, guys. I would urge you to use this expression when you're sharing strong beliefs and opinions about a subject, okay, about something you believe strongly in. So this would be a good expression. So here's my example. From where I stand, children shouldn't be allowed to have cell phones not on the internet. Okay, this is a mistake. Let's see if I can fix this. I was having a problem with these slides today because I got confused with the numbers. So I deleted the examples and I copy the examples from other sources, from other slides. And I forgot to delete some sentences. Let's see. I'm gonna fix this. There. At least this one. Okay. I think it fixed. Let's see. From where I said, okay. To have cell phones. Oh my God. Now I found another mistake. Cell phones in the plural. It has to be in the plural. Okay, guys. Cell phones. Let me fix that again. So this is my opinion, okay? This is where I stand. Children shouldn't be allowed to use cell phones, to have cell phones. Oh, Priscilla, aren't you being a little dramatic, If they want to have an opinion, a cell phone, let them have a cell phone. What's wrong with that? Well, that's what I believe in. That's my stance. Okay, from where I stand, children shouldn't be allowed to have cell phones. Okay? That's where I stand. Okay? So this is a very good expression. Now, and I fixed the example, shouldn't be allowed to have cell phones. Okay? Now let's do the last exercise of the day. This is a good one. 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey is the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all.
Very well. Because from where I stand, Harvey's the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Because from where I stand, Harvey's the firm, and you don't seem to have his back at all. Now you can imitate and you can listen, you can repeat. This would be a very, very good practice. Now that is all for today. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, share this lesson with a friend. But other than that, practice. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.